Hey, welcome back, everybody. Of course, this is Dr. Keith McNally. It's good to have you back. And so today I'm going to do another project-based learning reflection video. So part of the PBL experience is to have your students reflect back on what they learned. So very often in my classroom, I said, what were some key learning takeaways from any particular activity or lesson or lab? And the phrase that I hear most often, and it still makes me cringe, is I learned a lot. Okay, good. I didn't ask how much you learned, and I didn't ask to be as vague as possible. Now, I'm being facetious, and hopefully you're not offended by that. But when somebody asks you, and I tend to giggle at this now because it happens so frequently that it is kind of funny. I learned a lot. Okay, well, that really doesn't tell me too much of anything. So part of the PBL learning experience is to give students or to impart on students the ability to reflect. So there's different ways to reflect upon something. We could definitely think about what it is that we learned and then have them reiterate some specific content material back. And that's good. We do want to know what they actually learned. The other part of that is to be able to have them reflect, well, how did this how is this now a part of other things that you've learned? So how does it integrate into previous lessons? They should be able to do that. So we want to build on previous content material. So we want to continue to build that foundation and make that foundation bigger, but we also want to give them more complex and more complicated ideas so that it all becomes part of who they are. And I call that, we own that. That's ownership of the content material. In project-based learning, we want to go beyond that because really we want students to become creative. We want them to think about solving problems. We want them to be able to critically and analytically look at a situation. We want to build their research skills. We definitely want to build their communication skills, collaboration skills, and so forth. And so there's a lot here. Now, we're not going to get all of that reflection back, but we can narrow down what we want our students to focus on at any point in time in the process. So for example, I go back to Timmy's situation, and Timmy was researching the homelessness or the homeless problem in his neighborhood. And as a result of the research and talking to community professionals, business leaders about how potentially to solve the problem or what we can do to get people off the streets and make their lives a bit more comfortable, as a result of all that, he was able to facilitate and encourage people to raise money and build a new homeless shelter that was far better than the one that was previously integrated into the community. Not only that, he was able to garner community understanding, appreciation, and just kind of support for this issue that was really kind of swept under the rug in his community. But when his teacher asked him to reflect back on the overall experience, she then kind of prompted for more of an emotional and more of cognitive and then actionable responses. So one of the first things that Timmy said was he was shocked. He was actually completely unaware, and it took him by surprise about what he saw that was kind of hidden from him in his community. The number of people that were homeless, the type of people that were homeless, what got them into that situation. He found that children were homeless. He found that elderly were homeless. He found that college students were homeless. And it wasn't just a certain piece of the population that we wanted to kind of move aside. People that he knew from church or from school were in this situation, and he was really shocked by that. And I think that emotional response to the situation really garnered his want, his passion, his need to kind of do something about it. So having students reflect upon the learning experience from both a cognitive, or I should say, from a cognitive, emotional, and actionable perspective is really part of the overall learning experience. So even though when we ask our students, what did you learn or what were your key learning takeaways, it's not just about matching what they say with what we expect them to learn. It's also about all of the other things that are part of just being human. What was your emotional response? What is your immediate cognitive response? What are your actionable responses to what it is that you learned? And these are powerful learning takeaways. So again, hopefully this was of value to you. I will continue to have these PBL structured vlogs and blogs. And so continue to support what I do, and I will support you in your educational efforts. Take care, everybody.